Hi guys, just wanted to put this video together so that if anyone wants to work on sort of different aspects of lifting technique whilst they're at home and they've not necessarily got access to a bar, this is the kind of stuff you could do if you've just got like a broomstick lying around or a mop handle or something like that. Just like I say, if you want to sort of stay fresh on your technique and sort of keep up with the basics. It's not the same as getting some weight on the bar and doing the full lifts, but you can still do productive stuff to work towards your lifting, even if you can't get into the gym. So I've split it into a few different sections, and it's mainly focused on sort of how you're moving between the positions and the actual positions themselves. So the first one I wanted to go over is the 1 to 2 transition. So for this, you're going to have to pretend that the bar's on the floor, so I'm going to hold it at about mid-shin height, and I'm literally just going from position 1 at mid-shin height to position 2, bar at knee height, like that. So it's quite a short movement, it's quite simple, but it's a good one just for getting the movement pattern drilled in, like that. So I would start the sequence off by doing 3 sets of 10 reps of them. Like I say, really nice and simple, and that's your foundation, that's where the lift starts, so it's a good one to start on. Once you've done those reps there, I would then take the bar and start at position 2, bar at knee height, and go into position 3. Yeah, from position 2 to position 3. And if you move at this sort of pace, it's much easier to get the positions right. And again, it's a nice short movement, so there's not too much to think about as I'm going from one to the other. And again, I would do 3 sets of 10 on them. And obviously you're not going to need loads of rest. Probably not going to find it incredibly tiring because there's no weight on the bar in there. The third one I would go on to, just to sort of stick things together a little bit, is going from position 1 here, up and into the extension, and get a few reps in, going from the floor all the way through the movement, finishing in that top extension position. And again, I would do about 3 sets of 10 on them. When you're going for a sort of bigger variation of a lift like that, where we're sticking a couple of different bits together, in theory, that last lift I've done there should look the same as the 2 halves that I've done before. So the 1 to 2 should look the same as what I did at the start, and the 2 to 3 should look the same as what I was doing in the middle. And that's what we'll try and create, is consistency from one drill to another. If I do the 1 to 2 really well on the first one, but then when I come to do that drill I do it completely differently, then you're not going to get very much out of the drills, and they're not really going to carry over to each other very much. So that's why we want consistency. So I do 3 sets of 10 on each of them, really nice and simple. And in terms of what to think about, if we keep it really, really simple without going into what am I looking for at every single position, the big things I would focus on is where do your shoulders sit in relation to the bar, and where is the weight on your feet? And the two will interact with each other a little bit. So if we take me in my start position here, I've got my shoulders on top of the bar, maybe slightly in front, and I've got the weight pretty central on my feet. When I go up to position 2, the weight is still in the middle of my feet, still pretty central. It might have gone back to my heels a little bit, then my shoulders are still on top of the bar. So as I go through that movement, I'm keeping that same shoulder position, and I'm staying fairly central on my feet. When I'm then trying to go from 2 to 3, again my shoulders will stay on top of the bar, and you'll probably find that the weight, or it should move, a little bit closer to the front of your feet as you do that. Really important to note as I'm doing this, that I'm not treating it like a deadlift and going from here and standing up, but I'm actually trying to go from here into this position where I'm ready to drive out of it. But again, like I say, my knees bent and ready to drive, but the weight's in the middle of my feet, and my shoulders are on top of the bar. I haven't sat right back behind it, and I'm not right out in front of it. So I'm going from 2 to 3 like that. When we string it together, then it's just the same simple point, but we're seeing, can we do that when you're moving through all of the positions? So I'm staying fairly central with the weight on my feet. There's not too much shifting backwards and forwards. And as well, keeping my shoulders on top of the bar. I'm not leaning back too much, and I'm not staying miles out front with it. And that should be your goal if you're practicing that, is can you make the last lift, the one I've just done there, look as similar as possible to the first 2. And in terms of a really loose focus, I would just think about the transition 1 to 2, 2 to 3. Are your shoulders on top of the bar? Is the weight on the middle of the feet? If people have more specific questions than that, with regards to their technique, then obviously you can just message me directly. If you want to send me videos, you can do. Another good one to have a play with whilst you don't have any access to weights is just playing around with the squat position. And again, you could try and do this with a broomstick or a mop handle, or if you've got, something shaped a little bit like that, or potentially, without any weight, but having a look at the front squat position and just trying to get comfortable with getting into a front rack where you can maintain the bar on your shoulders when you're in that position. So as I go down into the squat, can I stay nice and upright in terms of my posture, and can I keep the bar wrapped on my shoulders as I do that, and just spending time in this position. So you could take 10 seconds just down in the bottom of the position, but thinking about keeping nice and upright, nice straight back, keeping the rack high, and then once you've done the 10 seconds, you can come back out and go again. And if you can do maybe 5 sets of 3 like that, again, it just gives you some exposure to that position. It might not be heavy, but it should still benefit the technique and the positions. The key point to emphasise with those, if we're thinking about them in a weightlifting context, is can we keep you upright? And more than anything, can we set you up so that that front rack position is nice and high? And that's going to come from the waist up, using my back, my shoulders, and my arms to keep me up there. And it's got to be a combination of the two. It's not just a case of can I push my elbows really high, but can the whole system work together so that I don't end up going into a squat where I'm like that, but actually, as I go down, I'm starting nice and high, and then I'm thinking about maintaining that down into the bottom of the squat position. All the variations that I've gone over there can obviously be done in a snatch grip as well for the first 3, and with those they can be done as an overhead squat too, and the same principles apply. We want to try and keep you nice and upright, we want to try and keep the elbows locked out, and we want to try and keep the bar above your feet as you do that. So say, if I'm doing that with the broomstick, and I'm setting up like this, I want to try and keep nice and upright, I want to try and keep my chest up, I don't want to collapse into the bottom, and try and keep my arms straight as I can. And you'll probably find, if you can get some good long pauses at the bottom there, that position should start to feel more comfortable pretty quickly, but it might not feel great to start with. Like I said before, if people try these things and they have more specific questions than what I've gone over here, please drop me a message. I've kind of gone over a very brief, very basic overview of it there, so I'm happy to answer more specific questions. But hopefully that keeps everyone ticking over on their technique.